my power composition. I'm 40 clicks of CPR. Stay locked in and keep it real. I acquired my first productive musical item. It was from a friend. I'd just been sitting around when I used to rap. I'd just done some recording around a friend's house and I noticed this little Akai pad sitting on the floor, and he just pretty much gave it to me. I mean, he acquired it for free, so he just said, look, if you want it, you can have it. It was just a little Akai mini pad, just with the pads and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where I started out, just with a cracked copy of Reason. Was I shown the ropes? I guess you could say I could. I mean, I started off with a little bit of music production classes and stuff like that when I lived in Brighton. So I had a few classes there, but then I just dropped out, and then eventually after that I just sort of picked it up myself. Just started playing with it every day, seeing how things worked and stuff like that, and just making sure that I was on point and stuff. Did I have an operation manual? No, not really, no. I mean, I looked at little bits on the internet and stuff like that just to sort of see if I was doing things right, but other than that I just learned it all myself. It was pretty steep. I mean, I've been doing it now for about three and a half years, something like that. So it's taken me up until now to get to a point where I felt comfortable putting my stuff out and working with artists and things like that. So, how long did it take me to master it? I don't think I've anywhere near mastered it yet. I mean, there's a long way to go. There's always stuff to learn with music anyway. Like, there's always new things you could be doing. So yeah, I don't think I'm anywhere near that yet. Still own it. No, it broke. I don't own that piece of equipment anymore, no. It broke on me, failed on me, so I had to get rid of it. Did I think it was the right type of gear? Yeah, definitely. I mean, starting off with the pads was probably the best thing for me. Yeah, definitely. The equipment that I use now is I'm still on a Reason 5, and I'm using the Akai MPK mini pad with the keys and the pads. It's just got what I need basically just to get the job done. Equipment I've used over the years, I mean, I've dabbled with things slightly. I had a few goes on machine just around friends' houses and stuff like that, but I've mostly been based around Reason. Just been following the Reason game at the moment, pretty much just doing it that way. My preference to hardware and software, well, I've only really used software as far as it goes, but I've been planning on getting some hardware. I really want to get an MPC and stuff like that, just to sort of get hands on. It's a more creative way of working. So, favourite brand of musical equipment would be Akai, purely because of the pedigree and the history it's got, and just the how to use it, the interface and stuff like that. It's just always worked with me. To a beginner, I would recommend obviously any sort of control pad and things like that. Fruity Loops tends to be the thing that people start out on, but to be honest, if you're going to start out, you know, you might as well chuck yourself at the deep end, get yourself a DAW like Reason or something like Ableton or something like that. It's probably the best way to go. I chose software because it was just readily available to me at the time. I wasn't really that clued up on hardware and whatnot at the time. I was first introduced to Reason, so I don't know, I guess I just stuck with it, stayed comfortable. My views on sampling, fuck it, use samples like all day. I mean, it's where I started out, it's where hip hop pretty much started out itself, when people were just doing it in their fucking bedrooms and stuff like that. So, you know, if that's the way it's got to be, then I'm going to use samples. I mean, I don't have any real sort of musical skills anyway. I can't play the piano, I can't play any instruments, so for me that was always the best way to go, and it was natural. Kind of music that I find myself sampling most, I like a lot of 70s psychedelic music and stuff like that. Also a lot of old soul records and things. I like to mix it up a little bit with my sounds, like anything quite eclectic and not really been used as much before. That's normally the way I like to go. Sharing my samples, if I've got people sitting around the flat, like, I don't mind just sort of showing them what I use, but I'd never share a beat that I've made and just gone, yeah, this is the sample that I use online or anything like that. Either way, I'm not really too fussed. Keeping things too close to your chest sort of like just sort of shatters like what people think of it. Like if you're free with it and you let people know what's going on, I think they can appreciate the way you work a lot more. Acquiring my samples, I mean, I'm a big vinyl head anyway. A lot of my stuff is a mixture of everything. I mean, I take a lot of vinyl cuts. I mean, I take things off of MP3s. A lot of the time I'll find a sample in an old film or something like that, so I have to jack it off YouTube or something. So whatever way I can, really. I'm not too fussed. I don't think, you know, you should be too specific to the way that you have to get your creativity. So as far as samplers go, I'm mostly software at the moment. I think if I was to get into using samplers and things like that, I'd go with any sort of Akai equipment and things like that. I mean, I've seen DJ Downstroke, which was a friend of mine, lives quite close to me. He's on the MPC Ren at the moment, and he's smashing it with that, so maybe one of those would be pretty cool. Software, I mean, I've tried to get on the Ableton hype, but it's not really gone too well for me. I guess I'm just not very good with change, so yeah, I'm just sticking with Reason at the moment. What's more essential to crafting? As far as drums and samples go, I'd normally look into the sample. That's the first thing that I think of. Of course, your drums are always going to be what brings it up or what makes it hard hitting and stuff like that, so it's an important element as well, but when it comes to it, the sample for me is what makes it. The best MPC that I've seen currently has probably been the Ren, purely because of the fact that you can, you know, you hook it up with a computer, you can chop in the computer, chuck it in the Ren. I mean, it all seems like the workflow seems a lot better to me. I've not really touched on any sort of old MPCs and stuff like that. But yeah, software. Well, for me, obviously, I'm going to have to say Reason again. It's the only thing that I've really touched upon. I mean, I've had a look at other things as well, like someone I know, Manage from Caxton Press. He's a big Acid user. That's something I wanted to take a look at. Two favourite musical instruments. I can't actually play any myself, but I do like a lot of synthesizers and things like that. Obviously drums, like being a hip hop head, everyone likes the breaks and stuff like that, so yeah, that's what appeals to me. If I could learn to play two musical instruments, it would probably be the piano, purely because it's so versatile and you can do a lot of things with it. A lot of music's based around it. And the guitar, purely because it's, you know, as a young kid I always wanted to learn how to play it, but I didn't really have the patience. But if I could play it, I would. If I could choose any producer to work with on a joint, it would be a few actually. It'd probably be Apollo Brown. It's a big influence of mine, or Dilla if he was still around. Yeah, that's about it. If I could handpick two MCs to work with, probably Chester P, Task Force, of course, like who wouldn't want to, and I'm a big fan of R.A. the Rugged Man. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but yeah, he was a big influence of mine as well. Top three producers at the moment, probably be Apollo Brown, purely because of the whole soulful side mixed with the big beats and stuff like that. J Dilla, purely because of the influence he brings me with the swing and the soul and things like that. Who else? I don't even know. Madlib as well, because the whole just the swing and the soul and things like that always appealed to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really listening to as much hip hop as I used to at the moment. Like most producers, I've branched out into listening to loads of different things. There's a guy I'm following on SoundCloud at the moment. His name's Mr. Carmack. It's pretty cool, sort of trappy beats, but with like a bigger sound, less, slightly more original and things like that. This first track is it's going to be on the next Caxton Press album, forthcoming. It's called This Ain't Living. Sampled it from an old Carl Jada record, which is sort of like jazzy, something like that, but I wanted to flip it on its head. So I tried to make a bigger sound with it, made it sound a little bit more electronic, a little bit more spacey and stuff like that. So this is it.
Thinking living was millions of televisions, a repetition of everything that you ever been in. Nothing but hating nice, can't relax, unwind, take your time, punch guys, they your likes, yo. Spend half your time on the picket line. The initiation of live and die. Box your genre, crisscross your gender. There's no end to the threat that we feel inside. Pandemic shifts, plastic culture. The weak walk the streets with prosthetic limbs. Fast forward the generation. Everything that we gave was just aiming for better things. Unelected kings, no democracy, gas policy.
This beat I basically sampled from an old Lollipops record. It's a nice little surf record. I took it because it was poppy at the time, but to me it sounded a little bit more dark than that, before I could sort of turn it on its head, make it sound a little bit bigger, which is what I like to do. I like to take small samples and make them sound a little bit rougher, a little bit more rugged. That's basically it. Looking for someone who's I need to find myself a nice hardcore rapper for this one, someone who can really beef it up, really shout out on this. So if anyone, you hear this beat and you like it, obviously there's going to be some contact info knocking around, so if you can get at me, if you think you can do it, let me know. This beat, I think I made it about 3 months ago, something like that. Immediately emailed it to Amy True at Caxton Press. She sent me back a rough recording of some stuff a couple of days later. It's going off. I mean, something that you're going to be hearing, I think, on her next EP or something like that. I think she told me she's going to put it down on there. So make sure you go get that. I'm not sure of the title just yet, but I'm sure she'll be letting you know real soon. This I made a little while ago now. It's made from an old sort of folk song. Posted it on Twitter a little while ago. Chester P hit me up, said it was a really good flip of what it was. Which I was quite proud of, obviously. A big compliment from a big guy. Yeah. Sample was basically just two chicks with guitars, just playing their own little thing and stuff like that. But I wanted to try and get the biggest sound I could out of it. So yeah, this is what I come up with. Tell you what, I'll show you the sample just so you know, like, just the way I flipped it and stuff like that. But this is it. You'll recognise it as soon as it comes on. see, I obviously had to have a bit of a vision for this one.
From the sharp moon I had dreamed that body was me.
Yeah, that's I made this one a few months ago. It's called Boys and Girls. It's from an old sort of soul blues sample. Can't really remember the sample at the moment. A lot of these beats I'm showing you as well, like I haven't really got anyone to spit over them just yet. But if anyone thinks they can impress me on it, get in touch. A lot of my beats I like to think of as like my baby, so a lot of people come at me and they record things and they send them to me and stuff like that, and I'm not really feeling it, so I just let them know like that's not really the way I'm trying to go with it. But if you can smash it, definitely let me know.
Coming closer and closer, I swear. Closer and closer till I woke up and found you there.
Yeah, this one I've had quite a few people contact me over. Yeah, again, I've not really had anyone that I want to hear on it so badly. One of them joints that you need someone who's just got just the right sort of voice, someone who can really carry it. One I must have made a couple of months ago. I've just been talking to Mongo for Mud Family. Got hold of me recently on Facebook. He heard it on SoundCloud. He wanted to hopefully work with me on this. So, that'd be pretty cool. The sample I used was actually from a pretty well-known artist. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want Sony knocking on my door asking for money, but yeah, this one's called Two Way. this one's been flipped a few times. Normally I wouldn't do something like that, but yeah, I think I made this somewhere last year. Sounds it's a little bit more sort of early 2000s popular hip hop. Not normally the direction I would go in, but yeah, this is the way it came together, so I thought that's the way it should be for me. This is a song that my dad used to play in the car. It's not obviously quite a well-known track, like you've probably heard it before, but yeah, it's something I wanted to flip because I heard it on TV a little while ago. Just I like the sound of it. It's something I grew up on as well. My dad listening to that sort of music in the car. I loved his old music from the 60s and 70s and stuff. So I thought I'd try and do my best to bring it up to my sort of style, make it current. Obviously make it as big as I could.
There's God light and the war light and the strong light, only some show. Sad light and mad light and high light.
This beat I made a little while ago now. It's probably one of the first beats where I managed to make a voice sample actually fit with the sample I use for the chops and stuff like that. It took a little bit of tinkering, but I'm quite happy with what I come up with.
There's God light and the war light and the strong light, only some show. Sad light and mad light and high light. There's God light and the war light and the strong light, only some show. Sad light and mad light and high light. There's God light.
This is the sample to the next beat I'm going to show you. Basically I just took this, I had a little play around and tried to chop it as much as I could, but unfortunately I had to go with something that I wouldn't normally do, which was a loop. But I tried to mess around with as many sort of effects that I could, just to try and get it sounding as different and original as I could, and this is what I come up with. I've got at the moment, it's just a loop at the moment, but I'm going to try and work on maybe switching it up a little bit, putting a hook in there, making it, really composing it, making it sound like a complete track. But this is just the bare bones at the moment. Let's show you something now that I've been working on. Just the working title at the moment is just Samba. It's based on the sample. I can't really remember where I took the sample from, but it's by a group called Fancha. Track's called Soldier Kamba. Basically what I do is I chop in recycle. I run it all in Reason. I stick it through to the Dr. Octo Rex. What I normally tend to do is I'll chuck it into the Dr. Rex straight away without even laying down any of the drums or anything like that. Have a little mess around, just sort of see what the chops are sounding like, things like that. So I'll just sort of like mess around, tap the keys, mess with the pitch, see how things are sounding. If I feel like it at the time, what I'll do is I'll just I'll compress it, chuck some reverb on it, maybe put a filter on it, just see how it's sounding, just see which sort of direction I want to go with it. Once I've got something what I think sounds nice, then I just sort of know what tempo I'm going to work with. I went for 87.6 on this one. Then what I do is I'll go to the drums. So I'd load up a bunch of sounds in the redrum in Reason. Have a little mess around, just see what sort of composition I want to go with them. So I just went for something really simple like this. I try and keep my drum lines as simple as I can. I don't really want things to sound too clunky, too like overworked or anything like that. What I tend to do is I don't normally tend to quantize my drums or anything like that. I'll play maybe 2 bars in or something like that, see how the swing's sounding, see how the groove's sounding, and repeat it and go through it like that. And what I do once I'm happy with the drum line and things like that, I'll go back to the sample, mess about with the chops and things like that. This one I went for this. What I tend to do as well is a lot of my samples, they're chopped out of time and things like that. So I won't necessarily sort of bring a sample into Reason and then try and get it on point to the clicks and things like that. I'll just sort of, you know, play around with the pitch and things like that, and just sort of get it to a point where I think that the sample is sounding nice and it sounds nice over the beat. So this is basically what I came with over the drums. Once I had that laid down, basically I thought I want to sort of layer it, maybe switch it up a little bit, maybe put a little bit of something extra in there just for the last 8 bars of the verse or anything like that. So what I did was I just took this little voice sample, so I reloaded it again into the Dr. Octo Rex, put a filter on it, a bit of reverb and some delay, and just took these voice chops here just to sort of put it underneath. So you can probably hear what I've done here. So just literally simple as anything, just pulled it up into the sampler, stuck a filter on it. So that's it, just put it in the background, and this is pretty much what it sounded like from there. I like to try and keep sort of my composition as simple as possible. I don't like to do too many sort of airy-fairy sort of tricks and things like that. Mostly just filter work, reverb, something like that. Just EQ it all, making sure it's sounding nice and not just sort of a clunky mess and things like that. I try not to quantize as much as I can, but I do like to go in depth and sort of move the chops around in the bigger screens like this, zoom in on it and move things around, just sort of getting it sort of the right groove that I want so it sounds exactly the way I need. Yeah, that's the basic structure of the way I make a beat. Yeah, that's about it.